tadekam vada nishtaya yena streyo yamaptinam. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively what is the most beneficial for me. 3. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokesmin Divi Vidha Nishta Pura Prita Maya Nagaha Yana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. The Blessed Lord said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical, philosophical speculation, and others are inclined to know him by devotional work. Text 4. Na karma na maranam bam naiskarmyam purushotsnute na cha sanyasnade vasidam sim. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. Nahi kaschit chananapi jatu tishyate karma krit karyate yashvara karma sarva prakriti jayargunai. All men are forced to act helplessly according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Sorry about that Sanskrit. It's kind of hard when, people are kind of going at multiple angles. Okay, we'll go back to where we started. 65. Or where do we start? 67. As a boat on the water is swept away by strong wind, even the senses which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. So we're talking about controlling the senses, as we heard Krishnendu and KB give the last couple classes about this. And this is the real purpose of yoga, because we have fallen down from a very high platform of being with Krishna, and we fell down into sense gratification and material activity. This material activity means to engage the senses in some kind. So this yoga system means that you must detach the senses from all material enjoyment. And this is what Krishna is speaking to Arjuna about right now in the Bhagavad Gita. So we're detaching from material pleasure and material pain, loss, gain. We're learning to become indifferent to these things. And we're learning to divert the consciousness that would otherwise be caught up in clinging to this pleasure and pain to Krishna, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is real yoga. We may have had, some understanding of yoga before coming here, and we may not have thought it was, working for God. Because there's so many different types of yoga, so many preliminary things, but not necessarily preliminary, like you must do them to come to the platform of bhakti yoga, but they can certainly help somebody who is at a very low stage on the yogic ladder come to a platform where he can control his senses and he can fix his mind and maybe eventually, come to the understanding or some level of sincerity where Prabhupada and Krishna arranges for, someone to come in his path and give him one of Prabhupada's glorious books that will deliver him from all sinful reactions and all suffering. So not everybody is at this platform where they can instantly understand Prabhupada's books or have the sincerity in order to come in contact with somebody who is very sincere, a devotee in this movement. And in that way, we get a book and we start reading it, and that in itself is a very purificatory process. Just touching the book is very purifying, just seeing the book, just a moment's association with a pure devotee. But there are other processes where one can purify his his body, his mind, like that. And this is what a lot of us thought yoga was before. But the real purpose of yoga is to concentrate the mind and control the senses and divert that attention towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is situated in all of our hearts, each and every one of us. And to meditate on the super soul within your heart is the highest form of yoga, serving that Supreme Being we know as Krishna. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains how easy it is to get caught up in this material allurement known as Maya. This material allurement, there's an example of Lord Brahma in the Bhagavatam where he has a daughter, Saraswati. Saraswati is beautiful. Saraswati is the goddess of learning, music, art, and she is known to be very, very beautiful, very captivating. And in this way, Lord Brahma gets captivated by her beauty and completely forgets that it's his daughter. This is how strong Maya can actually be. He actually has to take on a different body. He has to leave his body because of this reaction of being allured by Saraswati. Or there's also the example of Lord Shiva, right? We hear with Mohini Murti. Mohini Murti, she was equally just as beautiful as Saraswati. Krishna came in the form of the most beautiful woman and allured Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva was so attracted to Mohini Murti that he followed her all around the universe. Followed her around. Was totally bewildered by her. And these two examples, these are both pure devotees of the Lord. Completely pure. So what is to say about someone in our position, the neophyte devotee? Well, there's a nice example about the devotee in Maya actually coming herself to allure a pure devotee of the Lord who is rendering devotional service. And he is a very famous devotee in our movement. He is known as the Nama Acharya, Srila Haridas Thakur. Srila Haridas Thakur, he was a young man, 20, 22, maybe 24, 25. He was chanting 300,000 names of the holy name every day. This is not something that we can imitate. We might be able to do it one day, but there's no way we can do it every day. And this was his practice every single day. He would sit in his bhajan kutir, and he had sowed the seed of tulsi, and he would chant in front of it, these 300,000 names. And he wouldn't take anything without chanting these names of Lord Krishna. He would chant very quickly, and it would take him all day to chant all these names. And the landlord in the area, he was a very envious, sinful man. At least outwardly, we know that everyone who comes in contact with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Leela, they're all sent for the Leela. So this gentleman, figuratively speaking, he could have been on the platform of being eternally liberated just for the pastime. I'm not exactly sure. But outwardly, he appeared to be very sinful. And he was envious of Haridas Thakur. What did he do? He sent Maya Devi herself to try to allure Haridas Thakur. He sent an attractive prostitute, and they concocted a plan, right? Where she was wearing a nice dress, and in the middle of the night she went to try to allure Haridas Thakur and make him fall down from his path of saintly life. And Haridas Thakur, he was involved in what's commonly called unalloyed, pure devotional service. It's not tinged with any other metals. It is totally pure. Pure gold, Haridas Thakur was. And Maya Devi herself, to a human, couldn't allure him. She tried 3 different times. She would go in front of him and beg him, "My dear Haridas, please, please, enjoy with me." He said, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Shishi Gauranitai, the most beautiful, Ki Jai." She would say, he would say, "You're so beautiful, but let me finish chanting my rounds first. Why don't you wait here and patiently wait for me to chant my rounds, and then you can enjoy with me. Then I'll enjoy with you happily." And she would wait, and he never finished his rounds. Just kept chanting. The next day, she had left, I believe, the first time, and she comes back and she says, "My dear Haridas, you said you would enjoy with me after your rounds." And he said, "I didn't finish. Just wait again. Listen to the holy name. Listen to me finish my rounds." And this way it happened again. And on the 3rd day, she wanted to give up her sinful life. She took instruction. She actually took Diksha from Haridas Thakur. And he instructed her, chant the holy names of Lord Krishna in front of this tulsi plant, and all of your sins will be eradicated. So this is the power of the holy name and a pure devotee. And the 3 examples, they put things into perspective, right? Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they're demigods, pure devotees of the Lord. But they still fall down to the allurement of Maya, the covering. Whereas Haridas Thakur, he was so absorbed in the holy name that he didn't fall down. And how is this? That a human doesn't fall down to Maya Devi herself? Well, he got a supremely higher taste. And this is what this Krishna consciousness movement is all about. It's about developing a higher taste so that these other things, these nonsensical things that we used to have a habit of doing, seem totally, why would I do that? Just seem totally miserable when somebody attains a higher taste. So the whole material energy, it's captivating us day after day, moment after moment, by how outwardly beautiful it looks. Right? It's just painted on. It's just a total illusion. This beauty, this Maya's energy, complete illusion. But we don't see it because we're conditioned souls. Time after time, we're making the same mistake over and over. Just like this body, right? There's so many different forms that, we once may have been attracted to, or we might think, "I'm so attractive, I'm so handsome, look at me." We might look at ourselves in the mirror and think, "Oh, look at me, I'm looking good today." Or whatever it is, but you look underneath this skin, right? This covering. You cut open your torso, right? Or somebody's torso, you separate it in half. And what do you see? You see some blood, you see some pus, you see some bones, you see some veins, you see some muscles. That's it. This material body there's nothing beautiful about it. This external covering that we call ourselves, that we think ourselves are, it's no different than a sweatshirt. That's what it says in the Bhagavad Gita. And we should get to a platform where we're not identifying with the sweatshirt's pleasure and pain, right? If we're starting to get hot and we take our sweatshirt off and we put it on that comfortable chair over there, do you think that sweatshirt is saying, "Oh, I'm so comfortable. Let me stay here for some time. This is such a nice, comfortable chair"? No. The sweatshirt doesn't feel pleasure or pain, comfort, discomfort. So this is a very high level, but to not associate with the body, Srila Prabhupada says it's the ABCs of spiritual life, that we're not this body. that this happiness and distress, this comfort, this displeasure, it has nothing to do with me. Because aham brahmasmi. I'm a spirit soul. I am not this body. And I am a servant of Krishna. That's what we're here to do. So this material energy, it's acting like, there's an example given of the mirage in the desert. Somebody is so thirsty in a desert. Or the animal, he's so thirsty. He's wandering in a desert. There's not water for hundreds of miles. And he looks forward, and the sun makes reflection off the sand. We call it mirage. And it looks like a big vessel of water, a big pond, a big reservoir. And the animal, he's busy going and chasing after this reservoir of water, thinking that it's real. This is what material energy is like. We're mistaking this world to be a place of peace and happiness and comfort. But in reality, there's none of this. Only by trying to please Krishna, by making Krishna comfortable, can we achieve any smidgen of happiness in this world. We try to go achieve happiness in the material world, and time again we'll be disappointed. And many of us have had a proper beat around by material energy, and we've actually realized that. Whereas I'm often meditating on or thinking about, what happens when somebody is born in this movement and they actually haven't seen how material energy is, Maybe it's a very, very rare birth. And it's also very, very rare that that person actually doesn't fall down after they get a little older. Because being brought up in this, it seems like jnana if they can't physically experience it. So a lot of times we see that these people, they may have some small amount of time where they go out materially and try to enjoy. And hopefully that they see very quickly. It's not possible. So it's a very high birth to be born into this movement, of course. But also, we're very fortunate as well to have the experience with material energy that we have had. So it's not just jnana that we're hearing, it's actually vigyan. It's actually applied. We actually read Bhagavad Gita and we can come to the conclusion, oh yeah, Krishna's right. There's no enjoying out there. It's not possible. So the senses, they want to gratify themselves constantly. They're calling out, oh, let me go to this restaurant. These nice smells. Let me eat this palatable dish offered by this restaurant. This steak, this chicken, this fried chicken. Right? But how do we control? Do we just go and we smell that, or we may have had a taste of doing this for so many years, and we come to Krishna consciousness and our spiritual master says, don't do that. Do we just walk past this restaurant and say, that doesn't exist. Let me avoid it. Let me run away. I'm not going to smell that. Is that our process of controlling our senses? No, it's not. You have to do that too, but it is not some artificial process like the yogis may think. This is how the yogis are doing, right? They're saying all of this is Maya, so let me just avoid it. Let me do my best to avoid it completely, artificially. And one is sure to fall down from restraining his senses when it is nothing but a mental concoction keeping him from that sensual activity. Instead, like I was saying, we find an even greater engagement. We get a higher taste, right? Instead of going to the restaurant and taking steak or chicken, fried chicken, we pop a sweet ball into our mouth and go into ecstasy, meditating on how the Lord ate this nice rasgulla, meditating on how much Srila Prabhupada likes rasgullas and glubjamins, on how the cowherd boys eat these nice dishes in the spiritual world. This is how we really control our senses. It's not some artificial imposition. It's not something that's forced. So, Srila Haridas Thakur, he was able to control his senses completely. The sex desire is the most binding force in the material world. And he was able to control this in a very, very seemingly dangerous situation and make the Temperess a devotee herself. So how was he able to do this? Because he had such taste for chanting the holy name. Now we may have developed a little small taste for chanting the holy name. All of us have some small amount of taste. Of course, the moods of the acharyas is that I have no taste at all. But realistically, practically speaking, we're here at the temple. Many of us have been here for some time and we're chanting rounds every morning. So that is good. That is a little taste. We must water that seed of bhakti and let the creeper grow. Now Haridas Thakur, he had supreme taste for the holy name, hence his name Nama Acharya. But we may not have so much of a taste for the holy name. In fact, we don't. So there are many other things that we can develop a very high taste for here in Krishna consciousness. There is unlimited services. There is unlimited variations of sweet balls and delicious sabjis and rice, pakora, chutney. There's so many wonderful dishes we can engage this tongue in. And the tongue is the most voracious, right? We say that in the prasadam prayers. Bhaktivinoda, he sings this. And indeed it is. So we can give the tongue two things to control it. We can give it the sweet, sweet name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we can give it the sweet, sweet tamarind chutney that Ananda is going to cook for Janmashtami. And in this way, we can control our senses. Because if the tongue is controlled, then all the other senses automatically, they'll be controlled as well. So this is the process that Srila Prabhupada gives to us. And it's like no other process, because you're not liable to fall down as easily, because you have other devotees who are engaging in the process with you. There's all type of loving reciprocations, loving connections. There's all type of services, so we can engage our hands in serving the Lord, whether it's cooking or cleaning. We can engage our legs in nicely dancing in front of the deities. We can engage our eyes in seeing the Lord in His beautiful, beautiful Archa Vigraha form. We can engage our nose in smelling the incense offered to the deity. We can engage our tongue in chanting the names and tasting mighty fine prasadam. So what better way is there to control your senses? There isn't a better way. This is the process that Srila Prabhupada gives to us. He's so merciful. The materialist, rather than trying to control their senses, they're busy trying to control material energy, trying to manipulate it. Right? The child, he may be making a fuss at the house. He may be just destroying everything. There's a couple pastimes. We were talking a couple nights ago, Krishnandu, Bhatta Avatar, and I, about baby Nimai tearing up Mother Sachi's house after he wanted a garland, and she said, yes, I'll go and get one. and then he just started tearing the place up. Similarly, the child, he may do this. He may break so many things, break so many toys just out of looking for engagement. Just trying, by his nature, he wants to manipulate material energy. So he starts destroying things. He may not even know he's destroying, but he is. That's all we're really doing. That's all the materialists are really doing. They're destroying and rebuilding, destroying and rebuilding, destroying, rebuilding, right? Take the automobile, for example. We have a 2020 nice van. I'm not saying we personally have it, but take this as an example. Somebody has a 2020 Odyssey. 2022 comes around, and there's new technology in it, not so many miles on the van. They come out with a new model, and the materialist thinks, oh, that 2020 van, it's totally useless. There's a 2022. I better get that. Right? This is also destroying and rebuilding. Oh, my iPhone from 4 years ago, it's not as fast as the newest one. I need the newest, the latest and greatest. This is what they're doing. They're putting new software on these phones that slow them down with the updates so that the new phone comes out and people say, man, my phone's so slow. It's broken. I need to buy the new one. I need to spend $1,500 on the latest and greatest cell phone. Destroying and rebuilding. That's all they're doing. Time after time. So unless we actually have proper engagement in Krishna consciousness, we'll simply be busy destroying and rebuilding everything. Making plans, right? Isn't this what we did for so long? Okay, I'm gonna go to the baseball game. I'm gonna go to the sports venue. I'm going to see my favorite team play. I'm going to figure out who wants to come with me, how to drive there, like the example KB was giving yesterday of the concert. Everybody's just planning. And then they go through with the activity and they come down from that sensual experience. So they're left feeling some kind of emptiness or longing for more things. So they're still making plans. They're saying, oh, this was nice this time. But next time, let's do like this. I'm going to bring my friends, Magadari and Krishnendu, next time. This is what they do. So we have to have proper engagement in Krishna consciousness. And the only way to do that is instruction from your God brothers and your spiritual master, who is instructing them. This is parampara, the cyclic succession. So, Rishi's not in the temple room, but he's with Maharaj, I believe, right now. You can always catch him saying this. Narottam Das Thakur sings this. Hari Hari Bifale Janama Goinayo Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Bhajiya Janiya Sunya Bishakaino. O Lord Hari, I have spent my life uselessly, having obtained a human birth and not having worshipped Radha and Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison. This poison we were drinking, birth after birth, year after year, for so long. What poison? Why poison? What is this poison? This poison is all that valuable time that we wasted pursuing material energy, Maya. The man, he doesn't know, he can't tell. He has no knowledge of what is going to happen in his next life. So therefore, he uselessly spends his life drinking poison. So much instruction in the songs of the Acharyas. This human form of life, it's a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. But we're simply just drinking poison, thinking it's going to give us satisfaction. We just utilize this life in destructing things and building them up again, and making plans for a better tomorrow, but the satisfaction doesn't come tomorrow. Not on our own. Of course, we're never alone, but people who forget Krishna, they think they're alone. They think that they're in charge. They think, I'm the Lord of all I survey. Let me manipulate the material energy so next time it will be better. And it just doesn't work. Just like the habituated thief. Somebody is habituated to stealing things. He goes to jail. He gets caught. He goes to jail. He meditates in jail on, okay, I'm not going to steal anymore. Or maybe he meditates, okay, I didn't steal properly. There's a better way to steal. That's what they teach you in jail. Because your association is powerful. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about, no, you're not a good criminal. Look, you got caught. You have to do it this way. So this person, he gets caught. And he goes to jail and he gets out. And what does he do? He might spend some time where he doesn't steal. But sure enough, he falls back into his own patterns and he starts stealing again. So this person, he also was in jail and he opened the Bible up. Or maybe he got one of Srila Prabhupada's books. Of course, if he got one of Srila Prabhupada's books, hopefully he didn't fall back down into stealing when he got out. But say he opened the Bible up and he read it. He read the scripture and it says, this is what will happen when you steal. You're going to go to hell. You're going to undergo all these karmic reactions for stealing. And this man, he still gets out and he steals again. So we call this somebody who's less than third-class intelligence, right? He has had practical experience that stealing is wrong and you get punished for it, and I'm going to get caught. He has read the scriptures and it says, here's your consequence. You're going to go to hell for stealing. And also, he has been told, don't steal, it's wrong. But instead, he goes on and he makes the same mistake. So we are just like that. Actually, we are hearing from scripture. I have this miserable, conditional body, and this material world, it's a place of suffering, different pangs, the threefold miseries, constantly making us suffer in so many different ways. Yet I am still not very much anxious to stop this process of birth and death. We hear it all the time. We're talking about this a lot. Yet how anxious are we to get out of this cycle of birth and death? Somebody mentioned recently how, along the lines of, how desperately do you want to chant the holy name? I think Magadari, you were mentioning it in Bhagavatam class. You know, how desperately are we calling out? Are we calling out for our mothers when we're chanting? Are we calling out like a child cries for his mother when we're chanting? Are we calling out, my dear friend, my dear Krishna, please engage me in your service? Are we going about our services like this is my lifeline right here? We can try to start to develop that attitude and encourage one another to similarly develop this attitude, because we should be beyond anxious to get out of this miserable cycle of birth and death, this hellish existence in this material world. We should be very much anxious for it. There's a funny story I heard recently of, I believe it was Hari Sarari, and as some of the devotees here know, he was Prabhupada's servant for some time. And he was in the servants' quarters, and he had fallen asleep. It was maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe 1:30, and Prabhupada came just like busting in his room, you know, just like opened the door real quick, and he kicked Hari Sarari while he was sleeping. And he said, "Get up! What are you doing? He said, Srila Prabhupada, I went to bed at 12:30 last night. I'm so tired. He said, why aren't you anxious to become pure devotee? Prabhupada had this mood of being so anxious for his disciples to become pure devotee of Krishna. So if we can just try to implement this mood, just try to be more and more anxious to get out of the clutches of material energy and try to go back home to Godhead. Try to render all of our services with the utmost devotion and concentration and effort. All of these services, it's the service itself. It's the bhakti yoga. That is the process. It is not the result. It is not how many people take books. That's only one side of this coin. The other side is tolerating that these people, they're not going to take books. Some people just won't take books, unfortunately. It's not in their karma right then and there to get a book. So it's not the result of the service that matters. It's the process. It's the doing the service. It's the meditating on the Lord while we're trying to serve Him with the utmost devotion that matters. And Srila Prabhupada, he was especially fond of these book distributors. He would be very, very pleased when people would distribute his books and preach vigorously. So let us try to do this. If we can't do this directly in person, or that's not our designated service for this time, place, and circumstance, we can certainly do something that's going to aid in this Krishna consciousness preaching movement endeavor. So this Janmashtami, it's coming up very, very soon. We have what? One more day before Janmashtami. And there's so much opportunity to serve the Lord for this time of Janmashtami, these festivals. They bring everyone closer, give everyone even more facility to serve. The devotee, rather than trying to engage 24 hours a day, he's finding a way to engage 26 hours a day in devotional service. And that's not a lie. Ananda Prabhu is doing such a nice job organizing and planning this year. I mean, that's something that's been on my mind a lot, how special that is, to actually have somebody whose designated service it is, to make sure all the devotees have some nice engagement. And in that way, we can make this festival the best festival yet, best Janmashtami yet, here at RBC. We have so many nice devotees, old and young. It gives us a chance to come together and really serve the Lord 24 hours a day. And then another 24 hours a day for Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. And then we have the Sunday feast after that. And then it's Ekadashi after that. So many engagements in these next few days. Endless engagements. So this is a perfect time to lean on your God brothers and God sisters. And it's a perfect time to meditate on how, because some of us will be fasting. Some of us won't sleep. It's a perfect time to meditate on how I could not do this if it wasn't for proper engagement towards the service of Lord Sri Krishna to Gaur Nitai. I could not properly control my senses in these environments. I could not fast like this. I could not go without sleeping. I could not just use my full energy for something material. How many people here think they could go and work some mundane job at a factory and just work for 24 hours, 26 hours, just 48 hours straight, fasting and not sleeping? No. This is not enjoyable. This is not possible. There's no happiness in this. This is hellish life. But instead, it's totally blissful because we have proper engagement, because our senses are properly engaged in the service of Sri Sri Gauranitai. There's a comment.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.
Maharaj had a comment. I'll read the verse. It's verse 70.
Alright.
A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Maharaj is saying Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami, the person who is striving to satisfy material desires is never happy, because the desires are unlimited, so putting more material things in the fire isn't going to extinguish it. It just gets bigger and bigger. Whereas the person, if one just takes shelter of Krishna, then Krishna is satisfied with that person, because they're not asking for anything. They're actually just happy with their service to Krishna. So Krishna is satisfied with them and gives them full like shelter or protection. I think that was like the gist. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj and Rishi Kumar Prabhu. Much appreciated comment. Yeah, an example of this is the materialist. He thinks, okay, I want to get some money so I can enjoy. And he builds a big business, and he goes on working in this business day after day. And he accumulates some wealth. He might accumulate a home, maybe a car, family, nice material things, nice Rolex watch. But he gets all of these material things, and it brings him a small amount of false satisfaction. And then he is thinking, how do I achieve the next thing? This is how the materialist goes on. Whereas the devotee, it is not that he does not engage in business. It is not that because we're trying to be devotees of Krishna, we don't practice business. There's many businessmen in the movement. They may still open a nice business, incense company, Spiritual Sky Incense, or Thakur Haridas, who recently came. He was overseeing one of the Krishna stores, right? Businessman. He's still accumulating money, but he is doing it in the service for Krishna. A percentage of his income is going to Krishna, para upakara. It is not that what he is doing is totally material, it is spiritual. So, this Krishna consciousness, it takes a shift in consciousness, and that's all. Srila Prabhupada was asked many times, how soon can I become Krishna conscious? And he often answered it, 1 second, 1 minute. Because it's just that shift of consciousness. It's not me that I'm trying to please anymore. It's my spiritual master. Because I have firm faith that he is a direct representative of Krishna. And he is the only way I am ever going to attain pure devotional service to my Lord. I have firm faith that he has my best interest at heart, that he is my ever well-wisher. So let us carry on these next few days with great determination and enthusiasm. And remember that it's impossible to control these senses without proper engagement. So let us give ourselves proper engagement so we may control our senses. Thank you for kindly hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. All glories to the assembled devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhu bhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.